The moment I saw the hotel receipt, my marriage stopped feeling real. The power went out at 9:17 p.m. 1 second, our kitchen was glowing under warm pendant lights, Claire standing by the sink rinsing 2 wine glasses after dinner. The next second, the whole house dropped into darkness so fast I heard her inhale across the room. "Ethan," she called. Her voice was calm at first, then irritated. "Where are the flashlights?" I knew exactly where they were. Claire never kept emergency supplies in the kitchen drawers because she hated what she called visual clutter. Batteries, candles, flashlights, chargers, all the practical things people need when life stops performing properly. She kept inside the oversized leather tote she carried everywhere. It was sitting beside the island, its gold zipper catching the faint street light coming through the kitchen windows. I moved through the dark by memory, one hand sliding along the marble counter until my fingers found the bag. "Check the pantry," I called. "I am checking," she said from the hallway, already using that sharp little tone she used when a problem was nobody's fault, but somehow still mine to solve. I opened her tote. Lipstick, gum, a phone charger, a folded scarf, receipts pressed into tiny squares. Claire folded receipts like secrets, sharp and neat, as if order could make anything innocent. Then my thumb brushed thick cardstock. It felt expensive. I pulled it out and turned on the flashlight on my phone. Black ink, silver logo, Ashbury Grand Hotel, room 614. Check-in, Thursday, 7:42 p.m. 2 guests. Champagne service added at 8:11 p.m. For a few seconds, my body forgot what it was supposed to do. I did not breathe. I did not blink. I just stood there in my own kitchen, holding a piece of paper that turned 12 years of marriage into evidence. Thursday, 3 nights earlier, Claire had stood in that same kitchen, buttoning her coat in front of the mirror near the back door, and told me she was having dinner with Melissa. "Just pasta and gossip," she had said, kissing my cheek like a woman already halfway out of the room in her mind. "I'll be home before 10. She came home at 12:38. I remembered because I had been awake, sitting in bed with a book open on my lap, pretending not to wait. She smelled like hotel soap that night. Not perfume, not wine. Hotel soap. I remembered noticing it, then hating myself for noticing it, because suspicion turns a married man into 2 people. One person sees the truth. The other begs the truth to be something else. I read the receipt again. Ashbury Grand Hotel, room 614. 2 guests. Champagne. My first instinct was not rage. Rage would have been cleaner. Rage would have let me storm upstairs, wave the receipt in her face, and demand an explanation that only sounded convincing if I already wanted to believe it. But I had spent most of my adult life dealing with failing systems. Corporate systems. Financial systems. People trusted with access they never should have had. I knew something most people only learn after the damage is done. The first proof is never the whole proof. It is only the door. I folded the receipt once, then again, and slipped it into my pocket just as Claire walked back into the kitchen, holding her phone under her chin like a lantern. "Found candles?" she asked. Then she smiled. That smile almost saved her. Almost. Because for half a second, I saw the woman I married. The woman who cried during old movies but insisted she had allergies. The woman who used to press her cold feet against my legs under the blankets. The woman who once drove 40 minutes in a thunderstorm because I had a fever and wanted soup from a place that closed at 9. Then the light shifted across her face, and I saw something else. Control. Not panic. Not guilt. Not shock. Control. She set 2 candles on the island and started opening drawers she knew did not contain matches. "Did you check my tote?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Too fast." She paused. Claire was very good at pauses. Hers never lasted long enough to look suspicious, just long enough to test the room. "You okay?" "Fine. Your voice sounds strange." The power went out. She laughed softly and brushed past me toward the pantry. She kissed my cheek as she passed, light and automatic, like stamping a document. I stood there in the dark with her hotel receipt in my pocket and her lipstick on my skin. That was the first time I understood something ugly. A person can touch you with affection while betraying you with precision. Claire found matches in the pantry exactly where she had left them months earlier. She lit candles around the kitchen and poured more Cabernet into our glasses as if nothing in the world had changed. That scared me more than the receipt. Amateur liars over-explain. Experienced liars stabilize the room first. She talked about the outage, about how romantic the house looked by candlelight, about how we should use the dining room more often. Her voice floated through the kitchen, warm and steady. I watched her hands, her left hand especially. The ring was still there. That almost made it worse. I carried my wine upstairs and locked myself in the bathroom. The moment the lock clicked, Claire's voice came from the other side of the door. "Why did you lock it?" I looked at myself in the mirror. My face did not look angry. It looked older. "1 second," I said. "I'm checking the breaker app." There was silence. Then her footsteps moved away. I pulled up our joint American Express account on my phone. Thursday night. I scanned line by line. Grocery store, dry cleaning, gas station, pharmacy. Then there it was. Ashbury Grand Hotel, $438.27 pending. Merchant category, lodging. Authorization completed at 7:44 p.m. 2 minutes after check-in. I took screenshots and sent them to a private folder I used for tax records. Then I noticed the charge beneath it. $96 valet parking. Premium service verification attached. Vehicle, silver Audi sedan. Claire drove a white Lexus SUV. My throat tightened. That was the second door. I opened our shared calendar. Thursday night showed dinner with Melissa, 7:30. I opened Melissa's Instagram. She had posted a story that same night from her daughter's school fundraiser, standing beside a balloon arch with a timestamp of 8:04 p.m. I stared at the screen for a long time. It was not just that Claire had lied. It was that she had lied lazily. Or worse, she had lied so often she no longer respected the possibility of being caught. Downstairs, she was humming. That sound almost broke me. People think betrayal begins when you discover it. It does not. Discovery is just when your life finally catches up to the wound. I did not sleep that night. Claire did. She came to bed after midnight, slid under the sheets, and placed her hand on my chest. "You're still awake," she whispered. "Yeah. Busy brain." Something like that. She moved closer. A month earlier, I would have turned toward her. I would have let her warmth convince me that whatever distance had grown between us was ordinary. Couples drift. Work gets heavy. Desire changes shape. People get tired. That was what I had been telling myself for 6 months. That night, I lay still while my wife fell asleep with one hand over my heart and a hotel receipt hidden inside the drawer of my nightstand. By morning, I had made one decision. I would not confront the first lie. I would find the structure beneath it. Claire had always been organized, but over the next few days, I noticed a different kind of order around her. She kept her phone face down. She took calls from the laundry room. She deleted messages with the absent-minded confidence of someone who believed deletion meant disappearance. At breakfast, she asked if I wanted eggs. That was unusual. Claire had not made breakfast for me in almost a year. "Scrambled?" she asked. "Since when do you cook before 9? She smiled without looking up from the pan. Maybe I'm trying to be better. Better. It was such a small word, but it landed wrong. The eggs were too salty. She forgot I hated pepper in them. But she watched me take the first bite with a strange intensity, as if breakfast were less about kindness and more about measuring suspicion. That was when I started writing things down. Not feelings. Feelings bend under pressure. Facts. Thursday. Ashbury Grand. Room 614. 2 guests. Silver Audi. Melissa at school fundraiser. Join Amex. Valet. The list looked absurdly small at first. Almost embarrassing. A few lines against 12 years of marriage. But betrayal does not usually arrive as a confession. It arrives as a pattern that begs you not to notice. By Friday, the pattern had started breathing. A recurring charge appeared under RM Consulting. Same amount. Every other week. Always near nights, Claire claimed to have late charity meetings. I had seen the vendor before, but I never questioned it because Claire ran a non-profit arts foundation, and consulting charges were normal in her world. Then I pulled older statements. RM Consulting appeared 5 months earlier, shortly after Claire joined the board of the Lakeview Children's Arts Fund. That name mattered. Lakeview was the charity she talked about constantly. Fundraising dinners, donor meetings, grant reviews, emergency planning sessions. Claire used Lakeview the way some people use perfume, lightly, constantly, to cover something underneath. I called my attorney, Elaine Porter, from the parking garage at work. Elaine had handled a contract dispute for me 2 years earlier. Sharp, quiet, the kind of lawyer who made people nervous by never raising her voice. "I need advice," I said. "Personal or corporate?" "Both, probably." There was a pause. "Are you safe?" The question caught me off guard. Physically, yes. Financially, I was no longer sure. Emotionally, I had been standing inside a burning room for months without smelling smoke. I think my wife is hiding something, I said. Maybe an affair. Maybe money. Elaine exhaled. Do not confront her yet. I wasn't planning to. Good. Preserve documents. Do not access anything illegally. Do not record where consent laws would create problems. Send me what you have. We will structure this carefully. That word helped. Structure. It gave my fear something to stand on. That evening, Claire told me she had a donor strategy meeting downtown. She wore the emerald dress I bought her for our 10th anniversary, the one she used to say made her feel like a movie star. I watched her fasten one earring in the hallway mirror. Late night? I asked. Probably not. 9:30. She smiled at me in the reflection. I smiled back. When she left, I drove to the Ashbury Grand. I did not follow her car. Elaine would have strangled me. Instead, I parked across the street and sat inside my own car, watching the valet stand. At 7:58 p.m., a silver Audi sedan pulled up. Ryan Mitchell stepped out first. I knew him. Not well. Enough. He was on the Lakeview board. Real estate family. Expensive haircut. Dead eyes. A man who made charitable giving look like a tax strategy with champagne. Then Claire stepped out from the passenger side. For one moment, she looked happy. That was the part one still hated later. Not the kiss he placed near her temple. Not his hand at the small of her back. Not the way the valet greeted them like regulars. It was her face. Soft. Alive. Expectant. The face she had stopped bringing home to me. I took one photograph from the public sidewalk, then put my phone down because my hand was shaking. I had imagined catching her would make the uncertainty stop. It did not. Certainty has its own violence. They entered the hotel together. I sat in the car until the streetlights blurred. Then I drove home and threw up in the downstairs bathroom before washing my face and placing the towel back exactly as Claire liked it. She came home at 11:46. I was at the kitchen table with my laptop open, pretending to review quarterly reports. How was the meeting? I asked. Boring. She slipped off her heels and leaned against the counter. A lot of budget talk. Budget. The word almost made me laugh. Anything resolved? We're getting there. She poured herself water, then stood behind me and rubbed my shoulders. I miss us, she said. I stopped typing. There are sentences people use when they are trying to return to a house after setting fire to the front porch. I do too, I said. She kissed the top of my head. For the first time in 12 years, I wondered whether my wife had ever truly known me or whether she had only memorized the version of me that made her life easier. The next morning, Elaine called. I found RM Consulting. My hand tightened around the phone. And it is not a normal vendor. It is tied to a holding company registered in Nevada. The registered agent is a law firm that handles shell structures. There are several transfers from Claire's foundation accounts into that entity. My accounts. Not directly, but some reimbursements and pass-through transactions touch your joint cards and shared investment account. I closed my office door. Elaine, I am not saying your wife is committing fraud. Not yet. I am saying you need to protect yourself before someone else writes the story first. That sentence stayed with me. Before someone else writes the story first. Because Claire had already started. Over the next week, I noticed how often she narrated our marriage out loud. You have been so distracted lately, she told me one night, loud enough that her sister could hear through the speakerphone. I worry about you. Another time, during dinner with friends, she touched my arm and said, Ethan has been under so much stress. He barely sleeps. She was planting softness around me. Not accusations. Not yet. Concern. Concern is useful because it looks loving until it becomes evidence. I heard it clearly the third time. We were at a charity cocktail reception for Lakeview. Claire stood beside Ryan near the bar, laughing too lightly at something he said. When I walked over, she slid her hand through my arm and said to him, Ethan has been intense lately. Work pressure. Ryan looked at me for half a second too long. Stress makes people unpredictable, he said. Claire's hand tightened around my arm. That was the moment I understood. The affair was not the whole game. It was cover. I looked at Ryan then, truly looked at him, and saw what I had missed before. He was not simply a lover. He was a man positioned near my wife, near her charity, near money, near records, near me. He smiled like he had already measured the distance between my anger and his advantage. Only if they lacked discipline, I said. His smile thinned. Claire laughed quickly and changed the subject. That night, while she showered, her second phone buzzed inside the pocket of the coat she had hung in the mudroom. I did not touch it at first. I stood there listening to the water upstairs and staring at the coat like it was an animal that might bite. Then the screen lit again. Only part of the message preview showed. Ryan, he is noticing. Move the last piece before Monday. My body went cold in a clean, total way. I photographed the screen without touching the phone. Then I sent it to Elaine. Her reply came 4 minutes later. Do not confront. Monday may be a transfer date. I'm filing emergency protective motions first thing tomorrow. I read the message twice. Then Claire called from upstairs. Ethan, have you seen my gray towel? I looked at the coat, the hidden phone, the life I thought we had. No, I called back. I haven't. By Sunday evening, Elaine had assembled enough to request temporary restrictions on certain joint accounts if an unauthorized transfer appeared. Not a freeze on everything. That would alert Claire. Just a legal net positioned under the floor. I spent that entire day with my wife. That was Elaine's idea. Let her believe nothing changed, she said. People accelerate mistakes when they feel safe. So I took Claire to the farmer's market. We bought peaches, sourdough bread, and flowers she pretended not to care about, and then arranged in a vase the second we got home. We walked past a street musician playing the same song that had been playing on our first weekend trip to Cape Cod. Claire noticed it too. Her face changed. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she said, Do you remember that little inn? I nodded. You hated the wallpaper. It had birds on it. They were charming. They had human eyes. She laughed. A real laugh. And I hated her for giving me that moment. I hated that part of me still reached for it. Still wanted to step back into the version of us where love meant safety, and the worst thing Claire could do was steal my side of the blanket. When we got home, she stood in the kitchen arranging flowers in a blue vase. I know I have been distant, she said. I looked up. She kept her eyes on the stems. I have been trying to figure myself out. It was the closest she had come to confession. My heart betrayed me by speeding up. Have you? I asked. She nodded. I don't want us to become strangers. I wanted to ask her if strangers met in hotel rooms. I wanted to ask why Ryan thought I was noticing. I wanted to ask what the last piece was. Instead, I said, Then stop treating me like one. Her hands froze. For a moment, I thought she would tell me. I really did. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down, and whatever softness had opened inside her closed instantly. I need to take this. She walked into the pantry and shut the door. That was when I finally stopped grieving the woman I hoped she might still be. On Monday morning, a transfer request hit the joint investment account. $220,000. Destination, RM Consulting Escrow. Memo, Lakeview Capital Campaign Reimbursement. Elaine called before I even saw the banking alert. It triggered, she said. What happens now? It will not clear without dual verification. I am filing the emergency restriction within the hour. Ethan, listen carefully. Once this fails, she will know something is wrong. I closed my eyes. Across the house, Claire was singing. She always sang when she thought she was winning. At 11:12 a.m., her voice stopped. At 11:15, I heard her moving upstairs. At 11:19, she came into my office wearing the calmest expression I had ever seen on her face. Did you change something with the investment account? I looked up from my computer. Why? I was processing a foundation reimbursement, and the bank requested dual approval. That sounds responsible. Her smile did not reach her eyes. It's routine. Then approve it through the routine channels. She stared at me. There it was. The crack. Not fear yet. Not panic. The anger of someone discovering the lock on a door she thought she owned. Ethan, she said carefully. This could embarrass me professionally. Then explain the reimbursement. I just did. No. You named it. Silence. Her face changed so subtly that most people would have missed it. The wife disappeared. The strategist arrived. Are you accusing me of something? I asked a question. You are acting paranoid. There it was. The first stone in the road she wanted me to walk. Paranoid. I almost admired the timing. I am acting married, I said, to someone moving money through a vendor I do not recognize. Her eyes sharpened. You went through my accounts? Our accounts. That is controlling. No, that is math. She laughed once, short and ugly. You have been waiting to make me the villain. No, Claire. I have been waiting for you to stop making me the fool. That landed. I saw it. For half a second, she looked wounded. Then the expression turned hard. I need air, she said. She grabbed her coat and left through the side door. I watched from the office window as she sat in her car without starting it. Her shoulders shook once. Then she lifted the second phone to her ear. 30 minutes later, Elaine received notice that someone had attempted to access 2 additional accounts connected to my business holdings using outdated authorization documents. That was Ryan. He had overplayed. By evening, I knew where Claire would go. Not because I followed her. Because patterns are quieter than people and more honest. The Ashbury Grand again. Elaine wanted me nowhere near the hotel. Let the paper move, she said. Do not turn this into a confrontation. But some truths refused to stay on paper. So I did what I could do legally. I booked a room under my own name in the hotel across the street, one with a view of Ashbury's side entrance. Elaine hated it. I told her I was not following anyone. I was protecting myself. Do not engage, she said. I won't. That was my intention. Intentions are fragile things. At 8:07 p.m., Ryan arrived in the silver Audi. At 8:13, Claire stepped from a rideshare wearing the same emerald dress from our anniversary. That hurt more than it should have. She used to save that dress for me. Ryan did not kiss her this time. He grabbed her elbow and guided her inside with the impatience of a man who no longer had time for romance. That changed the story. At 8:41, Elaine texted me. The escrow transfer has failed. Emergency restriction granted. Joint withdrawals suspended pending review. I stared at the words. Then another message came. Unknown number. Are you watching? I stopped breathing. Across the street, through the tinted glass of Ashbury's lobby, Claire turned her head slightly, as if she could feel my eyes on her from another building. For the first time, I wondered whether I had been observing them or whether they had been testing what I could see. I did not answer. At 9:03, Elaine sent me still images from the Ashbury hallway. She had obtained them through a legal preservation request tied to the failed transfer. A paper trail, not a spy game. Ryan carried a briefcase. Claire stood beside him outside suite. 6:18. She looked exhausted. Not guilty. Not glamorous. Exhausted. That bothered me. Affairs have a look when they are still pretending to be love. This did not have that look. This looked like debt. At 9:27, Elaine called. We have a problem. What kind? Ryan Mitchell is tied to RM Consulting. But Claire is not just moving money into it. Some funds are moving out under your name. I stood up. What? Vendor reimbursements. Temporary consulting approvals. Digital signatures. Some look copied. Some may be forged. Ethan, if we had not stopped the transfer today, this could have pointed back at you. The room tilted slightly. It is one kind of pain to learn your wife gave herself to another man. It is another to realize she may have been preparing to give you the blame. Could she have done that alone? I asked. Elaine hesitated. No. I looked across at the Ashbury Grand. Suite 618 glowed behind closed curtains. Then Elaine said, there is something else. Lakeview is under quiet review. Missing donor funds. Nothing public yet. My hand tightened around the phone. How much? Enough to ruin everyone near it. For a moment, every sound in the room seemed distant. The air conditioner. Traffic below. My own pulse. Claire had not just betrayed our marriage. She had walked our life into a financial crime and left my name near the door. At 10:02, Elaine sent one audio file. Before you ask, she wrote, this came from Ryan's former assistant. She turned it over through counsel this afternoon. Listen once. Then call me. I pressed play. Static. A glass clink. Ryan's voice first. You are running out of time. Claire answered immediately. I moved another 20,000 yesterday. I gripped the edge of the desk. Ryan said, that is not enough. Claire said, you said the Monday transfer would close it. It would have if your husband had not started asking questions. Then Claire, quieter. Ethan cannot know about that night. There was a pause long enough to feel like a hand around my throat. Ryan said, then stop making mistakes like the receipt. The audio ended. I played it again because some part of me wanted the words to rearrange themselves. They did not. That night. I had heard the phrase before. 6 months earlier, after the Lakeview Winter Gala, Claire came home shaking. I thought she was drunk. She said a donor had made her uncomfortable. She would not tell me more. I held her while she cried in our bedroom and promised she was safe. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. 2 weeks later, Ryan joined the foundation's finance committee. Now I understood there had been a door back then too. I called Elaine. What happened that night? I don't know yet, she said. But I have a theory. Tell me. After the Winter Gala, Lakeview received several anonymous donations through pass-through entities. Within days, those funds moved into restricted project accounts. Later, money began leaving through consulting invoices tied to Ryan. If Claire helped cover the first irregular transfer, he may have used that to pull her deeper. Blackmail? Possibly. Or partnership that turned into leverage. I looked at the hotel across the street. Claire had been wrong. Ryan had been wrong. Maybe even I had been wrong. This was not just an affair. It was a trap that had become a relationship, or a relationship that had become a trap. With Claire, I no longer knew where choice ended and consequence began. But I knew one thing. She had chances to tell me. She chose him. Again and again. At 11:18 p.m., Claire called. I let it ring 3 times. When I answered, her voice was small. Where are you? At work. No, you're not. I said nothing. She inhaled shakily. Ethan, I need to explain something before you hear it from someone else. I closed my eyes. There are cruel moments in marriage when the confession you begged for arrives too late to be a gift. Then explain. Silence. Ryan helped me fix something after the gala, she said. What did you fix? I made a mistake. What kind of mistake? Her breathing broke. Lakeview money was misallocated. Temporarily. I was going to correct it, but Ryan knew how to move things quietly. He said if it came out wrong, the foundation would collapse and my name would be everywhere. And my name? Another silence. That told me enough. Claire, I did not mean for you to be involved, but you involved me. I was scared. No, you were scared after the lie became bigger than you. She started crying. Not loud, not theatrical, quiet tears, which hurt worse because I remembered every real tear I had ever wiped from her face. Ryan said he could make it disappear, she whispered. And the hotel? Her breath caught. Ethan, was that also accounting? No, one honest word. Finally, it cut cleaner than any explanation could have. How long? I asked. Please don't do this over the phone. How long? For months. For months. Not a mistake. A season. A whole weather system of lies. I looked down at my wedding ring. I still wore it. That embarrassed me more than anything else that night. Were you going to let the money point at me? No, Claire. I was going to stop it. When? She had no answer. That was the answer. At midnight, Elaine filed the next layer of protections. At 6:40 the next morning, I returned home. Claire was already there. She sat at the dining room table wearing one of my old sweaters, hair tied back, face pale from a night without sleep. On the table in front of her sat a folder, her second phone, and the Ashbury Grand receipt. She must have found where I hid it. For a moment, seeing her there almost undid me. Because she looked like my wife again. Not the woman in the hotel lobby. Not the board member. Not Ryan's accomplice. My wife. The woman who used to fall asleep during documentaries and deny it. The woman who made every rental house feel like home by unpacking books first. Then she looked up at me and said, I can still fix this. And the grief left. I know, I said. That is what scares me. Her face tightened. I mean us. No. You mean the consequences. She stood. That is not fair. Fair was before you brought my name into your fraud. She flinched. Don't call it that. What should I call it? A mistake. I set my briefcase on the table and opened it. No. Forgetting an anniversary is a mistake. Signing the wrong line is a mistake. Spending months with another man while moving money through shell vendors and letting my accounts become part of the paper trail is a decision. Her eyes filled. You sound like a lawyer. I sound like a husband who finally read the documents. She turned away, pressing one hand to her mouth. I was going to tell you. No, Claire. You were going to survive Ryan first. Then you were going to decide which version of the truth cost you less. That sentence broke through. She sat down hard. I pulled out the black binder and placed it between us. For 12 years, our dining room table had held birthday cakes, tax paperwork, grocery lists, holiday flowers, her laptop, my coffee cups, and the stupid ceramic bowl she bought in Vermont and insisted was art. Now it held the autopsy of our marriage. I opened the binder. First page, Ashbury Grand receipt. Second page, Amex charge. Third page, valet record. Fourth, silver Audi photo. Then RM consulting invoices. Nevada registrations. Lakeview transfer summaries. Attempted Monday wire. The message from Ryan. The audio transcript. Claire stared at the pages like each one removed another wall from the room. When I placed the photograph of her entering the hotel with Ryan on top, she closed her eyes. I hated myself that night, she whispered. Which night? All of them. I wanted that to matter. It did not matter enough. Then I showed her the emergency account order. Joint withdrawals suspended. Investment movement restricted. Transfer approvals rerouted through counsel. Foundation-linked reimbursements under review. Claire took the document with trembling fingers. You froze the accounts? No, I looked at her. I froze the ones you knew about. For the first time, real panic entered her face. Not because of me. Because of Ryan. What does that mean? It means if Ryan expected you to move money this morning, he is about to be disappointed. Her phone rang. Ryan. His name lit the screen like an accusation. Claire stared at it. I slid the phone closer. Answer it. She shook her head. Answer it, Claire. Her hand trembled as she tapped speaker. Ryan's voice came through low and furious. What did you do? Claire closed her eyes. Ryan, the escrow failed. The secondary account locked. Do you understand what you just triggered? I watched Claire shrink with every word. I did not trigger anything. Then your husband did. Silence. Ryan laughed once. Is he there? Claire looked at me. I said nothing. Ryan's voice sharpened. Ethan, if you are listening, you have no idea what she already signed. I leaned toward the phone. Then send it. That threw him. What? If you have something, send it. My attorney is waiting. Ryan said nothing for several seconds. Then, quietly, he said, ask your wife who approved the first restricted transfer after the gala. The line went dead. Claire looked as if someone had removed the bones from her body. I did not ask immediately. I waited. Silence does what anger cannot. It makes people hear themselves. Finally, she whispered, I did. Why? Because I thought I could put it back. That is what every thief tells themselves before the room catches fire. I am not a thief. Then why was my name on the exit? She covered her face. I was going to remove it. When? Again, no answer. My phone buzzed. Elaine. I answered. Do not let Claire leave the house with any devices, she said. Ryan's counsel just contacted us. He is trying to shift primary authorization to her and secondary exposure to you. Claire heard enough to stand. No, she said. No, he can't do that. Elaine continued. A preservation notice is going out now. Federal review may be involved by end of day. Claire gripped the back of the chair. Federal? The word turned her skin gray. I thanked Elaine and hung up. Claire looked at me like I had become the only solid object in a collapsing building. Ethan, please. That was the first time she said please like she meant it. Not as a tool. Not as a charm. As a person finally seeing the bottom. Please what? Help me. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because for months she had given Ryan her secrets, her loyalty, her body, and her silence. And when the cost arrived, she brought the bill home to me. You should call a lawyer, I said. Her face crumpled. I am your wife. No, I said quietly. You are the person who let me keep being your husband while you prepared me to be your alibi. She sank into the chair. That sentence ended something between us that had somehow survived. Even the hotel receipt. By noon, Ryan's world started unraveling. Elaine's preservation notice forced Lakeview to secure records. The bank escalated the block transfer. Ryan's assistant turned over calendar logs showing private meetings between him and Claire. One of the Nevada entities linked to RM Consulting had already appeared in a separate investigation involving donor funds. By 3, Ryan called Claire 17 times. She did not answer. By 5, a courier delivered a packet from Elaine to the house. Temporary separation agreement. Asset protection order. Occupancy terms. Instructions for device preservation. Claire read the first page and began crying again. I don't know where to go, she said. It was such a strange sentence. Not, I am sorry. Not, I love you. Not, what have I done? I don't know where to go. Dewey de la Ban Rut Non Teep. Kawang 420 to 452. Van Ju Chao Treo Va Don Ket Cam Suck. That was Claire. Even in ruin, her first instinct was logistics. For years, every room in that house carried some trace of her. Books on the nightstand, coats over chairs, half-finished tea mugs, shoes by the door. I used to think those traces meant home. Now they look like evidence. You can stay in the guest room tonight, I said. Tomorrow, your lawyer can speak to Elaine. You are really doing this? I looked at her. You already did. That night, I slept in my office with the door locked. Around 2 a.m., I heard Claire crying upstairs. Not loudly enough to manipulate me, just enough to remind me that grief fills a house no matter who caused it. At 6:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You think freezing money saves you? Ryan. A second message followed. She will choose survival. She always does. I forwarded both to Elaine, then walked upstairs. Claire sat on the guest bed with her knees pulled to her chest. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her. Ryan is threatening you, I said. I showed her the messages. Her face changed. Not fear. Recognition. He has copies, she whispered. Of what? Everything. Messages. Transfers. The first approval. Videos of us at the hotel. He said if I tried to walk away, he would make sure I burned first. And me? She looked down. He said you were useful because people would believe you controlled the money. Useful. That was what my marriage had become in Ryan's mouth, and what Claire had allowed it to become in practice. Did you believe him? I asked. Her eyes filled. I wanted to believe I could manage it. Claire. I wanted to believe I was still a good person. There it was. The real confession. Not the hotel. Not the money. Not Ryan. The lie she had told herself. I sat across from her. You may not be a monster, I said, but you became dangerous trying to avoid seeing what you were. She nodded, crying without sound. I know. I believed her. But belief was not forgiveness. By evening, Lakeview's board suspended Ryan. By the next morning, investigators were asking about RM consulting. Claire finally turned over the second phone, and the truth came out in pieces. After the winter gala, she had approved a temporary transfer from a restricted donor fund to cover a shortfall. She meant to replace it later. It was illegal, but she told herself no one would lose money. Ryan found out. Instead of reporting it, he offered to fix the accounting. Then came drinks. Then one night at Ashbury. Then another. By the time Claire understood Ryan was moving far more than the original amount, he had enough evidence to ruin her. By the time she tried to pull away, he had dragged my accounts close enough to the trail to make me useful. She had not planned the whole trap from the beginning. That was the only mercy. But every time truth could have saved us, she chose secrecy because secrecy cost less in the moment. That was the unforgivable part. 2 weeks later, Ryan was arrested quietly. No dramatic raid. Men like him are escorted through side doors while lawyers tell them not to speak. Claire was not arrested that day, but her life collapsed anyway. Lakeview removed her. Friends stopped calling. Donors erased her from photographs. Claire moved out on a rainy Tuesday morning. At the door, she said, I loved you. I wanted to be cruel. Instead, I told the truth. I know. That is what made this worse. Her mouth trembled. But I am sorry. I looked at her then. She was not the villain I had built in my head, and she was not the wife I tried to rescue in memory. She was a person who had loved me and betrayed me. A person who made a mistake, then protected the mistake until it became a weapon. I believe you, I said. Her eyes widened. But I am still done. She cried quietly. No performance. No strategy. Just grief arriving too late to save anything. After she left, I opened the nightstand drawer and took out the Ashbury Grand receipt. The paper had softened at the folds. I thought I would feel anger. I did not. I felt recognition. That receipt had not destroyed my marriage. It had simply told me where to start looking. Months later, in my smaller place near the river, the power flickered during a storm. For 1 second, the room went dark. My pulse jumped. I saw the old kitchen, Claire's smile, the receipt in my hand. Then the lights came back. Just a storm. Just a room. Just me. I made dinner. Eggs, actually. Scrambled, no pepper. The way Claire forgot I liked them. The way I had remembered all along. For the first time in months, no one was performing calm at me. No one was measuring my reaction. No one was hiding a second life 3 rooms away. The silence did not feel empty. It felt honest. I did not win my marriage. There was nothing left to win. I kept my name. I kept my freedom. I kept the part of myself Claire and Ryan tried to turn into a liability. And in the end, that was enough. One morning, months later, I woke before sunrise and realized I had slept through the night. No hotel corridors. No phantom phone buzzing. No Claire asking why I locked the bathroom door. Just quiet. Real quiet. The kind that does not ask to be trusted. The kind that earns it.